Alright, yo, we back with another video. So today we are going to be doing the global score boss. Now, I was going to do this a few days ago, but I just kind of been putting it off. So I figured today I might as well do it. I have not attempted it yet. So I do have a team already kind of formulated that I plan on using for this boss, right? So let's get right into it. So as you already know, this is going to be the same formula as every other kind of like score boss where you don't do damage to the enemy until like everything's fixed before you kill them, right? So when you kill them, they get in the down broken state and you're able to deal as much damage as possible to gain your score there, right? So obviously using characters like Domain Megami is very beneficial for your setup or your team, just because you're able to debuff them in that entire 3 turns. So usually what you do is you ult with Megami, kill the enemy, and then of course they'll be in the down state, which allows you'll be in Shadow Garden already, which allows you to just keep spamming his skill 1, which will debuff the enemy to oblivion, right? Now this boss is weak to green, and you already know what that means. We're gonna have absolute giga nuke chads in this team, so obviously Hollow Purple Gojo is going to be our mainline carry, right? Now, one thing to also note is score bosses like this, of course, you aren't able to debuff the enemy until they are in the down state, because they have debuff notification. So keep that in mind when you're going about it. Now, obviously SSR Yaga did come out, and he is a really amazing character. The only reason why I didn't use him is just because I'm kind of stalling in the beginning and I need someone to die off, but I also don't want to do too much damage to the boss passively, just because, SSR Yaga has the buff ability in his passive, which allows him to, give everybody in the team a passive buff by just existing, which is going to make us kill the boss too fast, and then we're going to have issues. Now, obviously, the team has Megami for the setup, probably one of the best setups in Scoreboss, obviously not counting Domain Gojo, who is not out in the game yet. Then we have Yaga as our buffer. Like I just mentioned earlier, we're not going to be using Momo, and we're not going to be using, of course, SSR Yaga, because we'll do too much damage with SSR Yaga. Then we have Team Ghetto. Like, there's no reason not to use Team Ghetto when anything is weak to green, just because you're able to debuff them heavily while also being able to do a lot of damage with the character, being a green character, which is just literally the best of both worlds. Then we do have, of course, Ichiji. Now, we don't need Ichiji in this team. Now, the reason why I'm using Ichiji is because he's by far my weakest character in my entire box, and the main goal is, since I'm stalling, I'm trying to get ults for other characters, and we don't want we don't want Hollow Purple Gojo to leave before a certain time limit. That is the biggest reason why we're using Ichiji here. So we're gonna have Ichiji die and stall a little bit, so that way Hollow Purple Gojo comes in, and then he can do what he's got to do. You know what I'm saying? Ichiji, he's going to be using the UG memory, because we want the taunt for as long as possible, but we also want him to survive for a bit, so that way he is able to kind of force the targets to him for 3 turns, which can essentially guarantee the death for him, just because the boss attacks 2 times every turn. So yeah, that's basically 6 attacks to Ichiji, so he will be able to, last at least till the 3rd turn, which is the turn the draw attack is going to leave anyways. And then obviously non-standard on Hollow Purple Gojo, because it does the most amount of damage without needing to use Pride, of course, right? But it's very difficult to use Pride while also trying to manage all your other things, while also trying to make sure that your Gojo doesn't leave it in a specific amount of turns. So yeah, we're just going to be using non-standard, because the boss will just die too fast if we use Pride. I would need a lot weaker characters to be able to do it, but I can't. So yeah, this is what we're working with. Anyways, without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so straight off the bat, you can just see that he does have the debuff nullification, which is what I mentioned earlier. So we're not going to be doing any debuffs or anything until we, get him down. So here we are going to use our memory and then use skill 3. We're going to attack with skill 1 on Yaga. Then here we're just going to be using skill 1 on Ghetto. And then we are going to use skill 3. Now obviously it's counterproductive with what we're trying to do here, which is obviously get Ichiji to die. So But I mean, I believe like even with this, we're just trying to not do as much damage as possible. So we're not going to use skill 1, even though it's not going to do that much damage anyways. And we're going to use skill 3. It should be fine because we're going to get attacked 6 times regardless. Okay, now we skill 3, skill 1, skill 1, skill 1. And the next turn he'll die for sure. Skill 1, skill 1, skill 1, skill 1. And he's dead. Now here we're going to use skill 2, skill 1, skill 1, and then skill 2. Obviously skill 2 will, you know, debuff them and then of course increase the amount of damage they take, but since the enemy has debuff notification, this is essentially like a free turn for us to make sure that our Gojo doesn't kill the boss, right? So we had the low enough curse energy, which means we were able to get to our ultimate. So here we're just going to use our ult. Then we're going to start buffing with Yaga because obviously we want to get that buff 4 times. Then here we can use, let's see, could probably use skill 1 here, right? Still use skill 1 because obviously we still can't debuff him anyways. So we just use skill 1. Doesn't really matter. And then we could use skill 1 on Gojo, right? Okay, so as you can see, phase 1, like before the down, it's fixed. So you'll always have this much score when you, of course, down the boss, which is 1.3 mil. Here we're going to skill 1 for the debuff. Then we're going to buff again for our second Yaga buff. Then here we're going to use skill 2 on Geto. And then we're going to use skill 1 with Gojo because obviously we only... This is stackable 2 times, but considering the fact that you're going to ult on one of the turns, you're of course going to lose that 1 buff or that 1 debuff, both. So you're realistically only going to have this buff or debuff for 1 turn. So you're usually going to just use it on the 2nd turn, so that way in the 3rd turn you can just nuke. So we're going to go with skill 1 here. So the boss can be debuffed now, so keep that in mind. We'll skill 1 again. We'll use the Kamo's archery lesson, right? And then we'll use skill 2. Then we'll skill 2 again with our Geto. And then this is where we start debuffing right here with our Gojo. Okay, so we got a crit, which gave a crit rate increase for our entire team, which is good. So now we're going to skill 1 one more time. We're going to get that last Yaga buff. Then we're going to use the memory to increase our damage dealt, and then use our ult in tandem with our Hollow Purple Gojo's ult with non-standard, so that way we could get as much damage as possible. So let's see how much damage we get out of it. If we could get some crits, that would be nice. We do have high crit rate. Not too high, but we got some. Okay, so we got a crit, so we got 17 mil on Geto. And then we got 33 mil from Gojo. I believe that was no crit. I didn't get to really see. Yeah, so we're already at 60 million. So not bad. 60 mil is really good. Really, really good. Now here, obviously in the final phase, like phase 2, it doesn't really matter too much because based on how much HP he has left, like, you know, 1.7 mil, even if you could do like 10 million more damage, you're still getting a fixed amount of score no matter what. That's going to be the same from, you know, his first life and his second life. The only part that actually matters is when he's down. So we'll just kill him off here. We'll just use whatever. There's nothing really special. We could just use our ult here if we wanted to. Use skill 1 because that's Team Geto's strongest move in terms of damage, not counting his ult. With skill 3, we'll buff. We'll use skill 1 again, so that way we can, of course, try to increase our crit rate. And yeah, we're just gonna basically finish him off here. All right, well, as you can see, we got, 67 million, right? Not bad at all. 67 million is pretty high. Of course, I could probably have a little bit more if I optimized perfectly, but I feel like that's a lot of RNG and that's just too much work. And I managed to get the crit obviously on Team Ghetto, which wasn't that hard because he can, increase his own crit hit rate by just using his skill 1. And then on top of that, you do have the crit rate increase from using adult time for your entire team. So he does have pretty good chance of critting when you're using that memory. But in terms of Hollow Purple Gojo, I really don't want to, gamble RNG on trying to guarantee a crit for him. That's just going to be too much work. Obviously, that's assuming I didn't crit. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure I didn't, though. But yeah, I could get higher damage, of course, if I did crit. So 62.7 mil, not bad at all. Could almost 63 mil. That's pretty high. Anyways, that's going to be the global score boss. Until next time, I'll see you guys in, probably the Inumaki event. I think that's just going to be a normal standard event. So there's not going to really be a video on that because, I mean, it's just some, brainless, mindless bullshit that you just have to do. Just farm tickets or whatever. So anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.